gonna be great. Listen, you want to fundamentally transform America. What do you have to do? You have to indoctrinate. You have to control the press. You have to control education. You have to control the banks. You have to control energy. You have to have complete control. When logic and math fail, what does this administration do every single time? Every time, stories of little Johnny who doesn't understand Wall Street, or I didn't give enough speeches to make the dummies in America understand. If they can't win in your heart and your mind, well, then they attack your pocketbook. They bribe you. They did it in their own party with Nelson and Landrieu. Free college, they're doing it for you now. Free college for everyone. Let me ask you this question, and this is a question that you really have to answer. Is your freedom, is the financial future of your children purchased this cheaply? Remember, Barack Obama says it's the worst time in American history. I mean, we're in the wreckage of the worst time in history. How is he going to solve it?
Tomorrow I'll visit Tampa, Florida, where workers will soon break ground on a new high-speed railroad funded by the Recovery Act.
Great. I lived in Tampa. That's going to be a nightmare. By the way, that high-speed train is yours for just $1.3 billion. Logic and math. Think of all the families who are now heading out for Disney for the day. Instead of driving from Tampa to Orlando, you know, the hour or hour and a half it usually takes there, what the president is banking on, they're now going to load the family into the car, battle for a parking space in Ybor City, which is just outside of Tampa where the train will be, pay for some parking, pay for an expensive train ticket, pile the family onto the train, all to save 20 minutes of travel time. Or how about this one? No, this is even better. How about the people who are coming from all over the country to go to Disney? They've been saving an entire year to be able to afford to go to Disney World. They're going to be there for 8 days. And in those 8 days, they're going to convince their kids to leave Disney to visit an old cigar factory in Tampa, Florida. My gosh, the country is already saved. That's part of the stimulus, except we're not calling it a stimulus package anymore. What was it he mentioned last night? Oh, yes, I remember. The jobs bill.
That is why jobs must be our #1 focus in 2010, and that's why I'm calling for a new jobs bill tonight.
A new jobs bill? How great is that? Because I don't want an old stimulus package. In fact, they're calling it a jobs bill because, well, it had a different name. Here, let's listen to a Democrat talk about it.
The other thing I'll point out is we now have are working on we're told not to call it another stimulus bill, call it a jobs bill.
Saul Alinsky said, if you're in trouble, step on the accelerator. When Scott Brown won, I told you, if you're dealing with a politician, he'll triangulate. We're not dealing with a politician. He was so mesmerizing to the people on the left, Chris Matthews even said this last night.
I was trying to think about who he was tonight, and it's interesting. He is post-racial, by all appearances. You know, I forgot he was black tonight for an hour. You know, he's gone a long way to become a leader of this country and passed so much history in just a year or two. I mean, it's something.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. He could go on, but did I just hear him say he forgot he was black for a minute? Wow, he must have been good. I don't know. I don't know what gets in the way of math and logic, but the people get it. The people in America are awake. They are informed for the first time really in my life. They're angry, but more importantly, they are determined as well, Mr. President. If I may compare our economic troubles to our war on terror, our government thinks that we just went through 9/11 economically. But I got news for you. I think we're at the USS Cole point. 9/11 is still on the horizon. And just like the government acted after the Cole, the warning signs were all there, but they played politics, just like they're doing now with a new financial 9/11 looming on the horizon. The good news is, unlike the real 9/11, the people this time are wide awake. They know the corruption and the reckless habits in Washington, and we are awake, and we ain't going to let it happen, not on our watch. Just remember this, 9/11 may be why we fight, but 9/12 is why we will win. The paradigm has changed. I I still can't get over what I witnessed last night in the State of the Union speech. I've never seen anything so condescending, just an arrogant display from a president before. You'd think he'd be just a little humbled by the massive upswell against big government in this country, but he didn't. Instead, he doubled down. Change, he said, wouldn't come easy, adding, "I can't do it alone." Really? Oh, we're so sorry to be holding you back from achieving the fundamental transformation of America, Mr. President. Pardon us citizens for getting in the way of your big plans.
I know that there are those who disagree with the overwhelming scientific evidence on climate change.
Oh my God.
But
the ones that the scientists that faked science.
And yes, it means passing a comprehensive energy and climate bill. If anyone from either party has a better approach that will bring down premiums, let me know.
I've got one.
Let me know.
I've got one.
Let me know.
I've got one. You've got my phone number. Call me. I'll tell you right now. Call me right now, and I'll tell it to you. He talked down to us last night. You got a better idea on health care? Let me know. Then he had the gall to say that things that are blatant, unless you aren't paying attention. If you're paying attention in this country, you know these things are absolutely, blatantly, shockingly untrue.
That's why we've excluded lobbyists from policy-making jobs or seats on federal boards and commissions.
Is that the caveat? Is that what it is? I mean, it's quite an interesting thing to say, especially when your staff has a lobbyist or two in it, or maybe it's three. I don't know. Come here. Let's just take a look. I mean, let's count. Oh, look at that. There are more than 30 lobbyists in this administration. These are just a few of them. Does this look like somebody who is excluding a lobbyist? He actually said this. This was a campaign promise that he said he was going to make. He broke it over and over and over again. And those of us in the media who are honest about our work, we noticed when he broke this campaign promise. Did you notice the little caveat there? He said it with a straight face. How does the man sleep at night? He said some of the most amazing things I've ever seen a president say in the State of the Union, including calling people out like me and Bill O'Reilly. The president decided he was going to lash out as well, and this was horrifying, to the Supreme Court, who recently dealt a setback to McCain-Feingold. Here's what the president said.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections. I don't think American elections should be bankrolled by America's most powerful interests, or worse, by foreign entities.
Yeah, maybe like George Soros. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. Look what he's doing here. FDR did it. They rule on something and say it's unconstitutional. He says, I don't really care. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to go around you. I'll do whatever I have to do. Well, let me ask you this. You see what happened with Judge Sam Alito? He reacted by shaking his head and mouthing the words, not true. It's not true. And now he's getting ripped apart. The judge is. For being invited into a house and then, but the people who say, you know, I'm going to invite you in and you have to stay there, nail your hands to your legs, don't react, don't do anything, and by the way, I'm just going to insult you to your face and demean you. You know what? When Joe Wilson yelled out, I thought it was wrong. I talked about it on this program. I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Decorum, for the love of Pete. We're not England. But Alito didn't do anything wrong here. It's not the same thing. And in response to his bipartisan commission, Obama wanted to create on the deficit. Well, that got voted down. The Senate didn't like that one. But listen carefully, America. It's what we told you was coming back last spring. Listen to Obama's response.
Yesterday, the Senate blocked a bill that would have created this commission. So I'll issue an executive order that will allow us to go forward, because I refuse to pass this problem on to another generation of Americans.
Just want to make sure you understand. Remember the math that I showed you? They can't. Republicans can't stop or block anything. The Republicans don't have the power. They're in my grandma's coffee can. This is supposed to be the 3 equal branches of government, but one seems to be more equal than the other. You tell me which one is still standing. You saw a bully last night. pushing around the Supreme Court, lying about lobbyists, and announcing if he needs to, he's just going to go right around. I'll go around Congress, I'll executive orders, I'll go around the Supreme Court. You've made yourself irrelevant. Irrelevant. You are irrelevant, Congress is irrelevant, the Supreme Court is irrelevant. Be careful. We've got a revolutionary on our hands, I believe. Back in a minute.